Nuance is dead. People always ask why the gaming industry keeps making the same franchises over and over again. Why everything becomes a sequel, why companies seem afraid to take risks, why we end up with endless releases of Call of Duty every year, or massive franchise machines like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But the reaction to Marathon is honestly the perfect example of why that happens. Because when studios try something new, people don't compare it to what it actually is, they compare it to what they wish it was. There's a quote that fits this perfectly: "Comparison is the thief of joy." That's often attributed to Theodore Roosevelt. If every new game has to compete with your memory of Destiny 2, Destiny 1, or whatever game holds your nostalgia, nothing new is ever going to win that fight. Game studios are stuck in a weird loop. If they make something new, people ask why they didn't make the thing that everyone already loves. If they keep making the same thing, people ask why nobody innovates anymore. It's a no-win situation, and it's exactly why entertainment industries fall back on safe franchises. Familiarity is predictable. Familiarity sells. For years, the community asked for Destiny 3. A reset, a wipe, a fresh start. People wanted Destiny to feel new again. They wanted a new experience, a new universe, a new story. Then Bungie releases Marathon, a brand new game with a lot of the things from Destiny 2 as far as abilities, gunplay, etc., where risk and gear loss are literally part of the design. It's a fresh start, and suddenly losing all of your stuff is unacceptable. So let me get this straight. People wanted a reset in Destiny, but when Bungie makes a game where resets are actually part of the core gameplay loop, that's a problem? At that point, it stops being criticism and starts becoming a contradiction. Developers end up stuck because the community can't even agree on what the game is supposed to be, and part of that is because the community isn't really one community at all. It's a bunch of different groups sharing the same space. You have players who strictly follow the meta, players who intentionally avoid the meta just to experiment, and both of those people swing their dicks around and try to have moral superiority over one another when they should just play the game and have fun. You have communities built around mastering one exotic weapon, and others dedicated to a single raid. You have speedrunning groups pushing out-of-bound glitches and using Sparrow, flying, and all kinds of things, mechanical exploits to their absolute limit, and other players who think those same glitches completely undermine the spirit of speedrunning.
Appreciate it, gang.
Some players love loadout swapping because they believe adapting your build mid-activity is a form of high skill expression, and some people think it's cringe. I'm not even saying one side is right or wrong. The point is these players are looking for completely different experiences from the same game and the same developers, and no single design choice will satisfy all of them. In fact, catering to any of them will probably piss off the rest. Extraction shooters add another layer of misunderstanding, because the genre itself is built on a balance people don't always expect. The PvE creates the environment, the enemies, the map, the resources. That's the world you navigate. The PvP creates the tension. The possibility that another player might appear at the worst possible moment. That's where the excitement comes from. Without PvP, the world feels empty. Without PvE, the world feels empty. Without PvP, the tension disappears. The genre only works because of that balance. Games like Escape from Tarkov and Hunt Showdown are built entirely around the dynamic. Part of the expectation problem right now also comes from Arc Raiders. Arc Raiders looks like it's leaning towards a much more accessible, casual-friendly version of the extraction formula. And that's not a bad thing, but it can create the impression that extraction shooters are supposed to feel forgiving. Historically, they aren't. Extraction shooters are usually brutal by design. They're supposed to create stress, risk, and uncertainty. Marathon actually sits much closer to that traditional tension that people might expect if their first point of reference is something like Arc Raiders. Just to be clear, I'm not blindly defending Marathon or shitting on Arc Raiders. They're both great games. There are things I genuinely like about Marathon, and there are things that I think still need work. The sound design is excellent, the art style is striking. Feels like you're moving through brightly colored industrial warehouses, which makes sense because these planets are also industrialized. Everything is readable and purposeful. and it feels intentionally designed so players immediately understand what they're interacting with. The gunplay feels fantastic, arguably even tighter and better than Destiny in some respects. I like that the better I play, the more I risk, the stronger I become. It's not about playing longer, it's about playing smarter. I do think Destiny has more playful and experimental builds, but Marathon's builds feel more competitive and more fair. They feel designed around performance rather than novelty. I also think the game strikes a really interesting balance between gear fear and excitement. You feel the risk, but it's never overwhelming, and perks allow you to buy back many of the mods in the game. And the maps themselves are clever enough that encounters stay interesting. Forza's not perfect. Solo play can be tough because the game leans a little bit more hardcore. It may push away some casual players. It also isn't very clear what you should be doing at any given moment, or what weapons do, or there's a lot of things that a lot of casual players will get confused by. And as a content creator, that's something I think about, because accessibility often affects how easily a game can grow an audience. But the point isn't that Marathon is flawless. The point is that enjoying parts of a game shouldn't automatically make someone a shill. Criticizing parts of a game shouldn't mean you hate it. Somewhere along the way, the conversation around games stopped allowing that middle ground. If someone criticizes Marathon, people say the game is dead. If someone enjoys it, suddenly they're a shill. But if a creator is actually being paid to promote something, they legally have to disclose it. Organizations like Federal Trade Commission enforce that. So either thousands of people are secretly running illegal ads, looking at jail time, or getting all of their revenues sued, or, what's more likely, that they just enjoy the game. The bigger issue is how quickly conversations jump to extremes. If you enjoy something, you're glazing. If you criticize it, you're blindly hating. Most people exist somewhere in between. You can enjoy a game and still acknowledge its flaws. You can criticize a game and still appreciate parts of it. Look at Destiny. I love the game, but there's so many problems right now. That used to be called having a normal opinion. What frustrates me the most is how often people get attacked for just being passionate. There are players right now who genuinely enjoy Marathon, and instead of welcoming that passion, the community mocks it. But passion is what keeps communities alive. The opposite of passion isn't hate, it's indifference. For the past year especially, a huge amount of content around Destiny 2 has been doom and gloom. Destiny is dying, the game is over, the community is collapsing.
Oh, there's a key right
and
there.
Algorithms push negative content harder. People see it more, the mood gets worse, eventually creators start losing motivation, not because they dislike the game, but because the conversation around it stops feeling genuine. And what brings us back to the bigger point, when communities react this way to new ideas, studios fall back on safe choices, more sequels, more familiar franchises, more predictable formulas. At that point, the safest option becomes obvious, and here's the takeaway. If every new idea gets buried under comparisons, if every positive opinion gets called glazing, if every criticism gets called hate, then we shouldn't be surprised when studios stop experimenting, and we end up with the same franchises forever. So the real question is this: do you want innovation, or do you want just new versions of the things you already love? I'm genuinely curious, and I hope that many of you comment your opinions down below, because I'm eager to hear what you think. Thank you for everyone who watched. Thank you for everyone who will watch. And quack quack mother duckers. Peace.